Want to live longer and better? I'm Dr. Jess. I'm a physical therapist, and in this podcast, I bring you real, science-backed strategies from physical health providers, mental health providers, and nutrition experts, so you can build strength, protect your mind, and fuel your body for decades to come. Longevity starts here. In today's episode, it's all about the barriers to longevity. These are the hidden roadblocks that keep so many of us from moving, eating, sleeping, and recovering in ways that truly support our extended health span. So we're going to cover lifestyle habits, stress, important into the mindset and environment. So we'll uncover what holds people back and, most importantly, how to overcome those obstacles so that you can thrive for decades to come.
Barriers are crazy.
They hold us back a lot. What are some of your biggest barriers that hold you back day to day?
Hands down, like mine is time. And I know that. And that's something that I always am trying to make a plan for because I'm very good at taking care of other people, but taking care of myself is something that's common. I think a lot of us, especially parents, it can be difficult to work yourself into your own schedule. So what about you, John? What are some of your biggest barriers?
Time, perfectionism. It's that all or nothing mentality. So I feel like if I can't give it my all, then why should I give it anything?
Right. And I think this kind of breaks into just the concept of when we're trying out strategies for improving longevity, we many times know at least some of the basics. So you might not have like the perfect workout or the perfect diet or the perfect, sleep hygiene or whatever, but like in general, oftentimes we have good ideas. It's just there's things that get in the way. And so instead of constantly feeling like a failure and saying, well, then what's the point? The challenge of this episode is to say, when you aren't tackling something as well as you would like, try and figure out what is the barrier that's getting in your way. So, like I said, for me, time is difficult. And I have found that if I'm going to put me in, I really need to do it in the morning before the kids are up, right? And what that means is that I need to bump my bedtime earlier so that I'm getting enough sleep. Because what I did is I put me in the morning, which is great because then I was getting it done, getting in the workout, getting in my run, just that time to like stretch, breathe, mindfulness, meditation, all the good stuff. But then I wasn't going to bed earlier. And so, because I was, burning the candle at both ends. So then that doesn't work. So you're just like, well, I'm doing me. I'm getting my stuff done, but I'm so tired. So it's like again, you have to be like, okay, well then what's the barrier to going to bed earlier? So what can I figure out there? And I feel like really the answer is it's always a journey. It's you've never perfected it. You've never actually figured it all out. You're just always trying to kind of move one foot in front of the other. So like with your perfectionism, John, what are some of the things that you've noticed that helps you to identify that is what the barrier was? Because I think that's the challenge is even identifying that it's a barrier.
A lot of times it's kind of my activity levels. So like when I work out, because sometimes I'm like, well, if I don't have a full hour to get to the gym, or if I don't have, a full 30 minutes to get a walk in, or, whatever, then I don't ever want to go do it. So it's kind of identifying that and saying, okay, well, even 10 minutes is better than nothing, or, even 30 minutes on a treadmill is better than nothing. And something is better than nothing sometimes. And it's just identifying that and being able to kind of convince myself that just do something.
One thing is a win. It doesn't have to be 5. It doesn't have to be 10. It's 1. And I think that is pretty common, especially in the beginning of a journey of feeling like it has to be perfect. And I know for myself, when I first transitioned into like having to, I don't know, take care of myself, wasn't playing athletics anymore with like coaches and practices and everything was scheduled for me. I was having to figure out for myself. And I would do the same thing. Like I would look at my watch and say, okay, well, I only have 30 minutes. Like if I get to the gym, I really won't be able to finish what I want. And so then I wouldn't go. So then it was like, I had somebody like tell me at one point, she said, a little bit of something is better than a whole lot of nothing. And she said, just repeat that in your head. And that is the best advice I ever got for acceptance of where I am in the moment. A little bit of something is better than a whole lot of nothing. And celebrate the little bit of something. And that, I think, it moved me forward eons for being able to figure out, like, I don't have to be perfect. Isn't that interesting?
I
Like,
mean, it really is,
yeah.
and it's so true when you think about it like that. You know, most people have, especially me. Like I had such a hard time coming to that realization of just a little bit is still something.
Right.
Because growing up, I always told myself that if you couldn't put your all in, don't put anything in. And as an adult, I'm like, okay, well, I can do 5 minutes, so 5 minutes is okay,
Yes.
or I can do 10 minutes, and 10 minutes is okay. It's sprinkling outside, but I can go for a minute. It's just a little bit is better than nothing, and then celebrating that I did a little bit.
Right.
That's
And
the
that's
biggest
the
thing.
win. And that's, I think, what we've talked about in the past about that dopamine release, so that we actually do feel good about a little bit of something. Because that's the acceptance point, is that you can say it, but not believe it.
Yeah.
So when you allow yourself to celebrate, now you actually start to believe, like, a little bit of something is better than a whole lot of nothing. And you know what? I could have not shown up at all, and I did.
Right.
Showed up for 10 minutes. Like,
And then it makes tomorrow's 10 minutes even easier.
it does. And tomorrow you might have full 30 minutes. You might have an hour, right?
Right.
But it doesn't have to be something that is out of this world, whether it comes to diet, whether it comes to like your stress management. Maybe you messed up, right? Maybe you packed your lunch and then forgot it at home and then had to order out. What if you made the best decision you could with ordering out, even though it wasn't perfect?
Right.
That's still good. You actively made a choice that was a better choice over something else. That is amazing. There's nothing to not celebrate about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really is the little things.
Right. So, other barriers that I see, have experienced, and hear about are also going to be money. That is a big one where oftentimes people feel like if I am not, I can't afford to belong to a gym, or the equipment that somebody recommended to me might be very expensive, or the type of food that I want to eat. Maybe I look up recipes that seem really, really good, but they have all of these ingredients. So one meal is going to cost like $20, things like that. And that can feel out of reach. And in reality, when it comes to monetary barriers, there are a lot of ways to get around those. And that is like something I tackle in the clinic all the time. Every single exercise I prescribe to a patient is free to do at home. Like, you do not need any equipment. It's body weight support. It's stretching. We may use a TheraBand for resistance, if not a water bottle, a book, like something a little bit heavy that they have in the house, so that people realize, like, I can do a whole lot of things and not need to pay for it, because that doesn't like, you don't need to start there. You don't need to start feeling like you're behind the eight ball, because an extra $10 is going to be too much, or $150 gym membership. Like, I don't pay $150 to go to a gym. It's not in my budget. Like, that's
Yeah.
just not part of what I currently will put into my budget. Some people, that is money well spent for them. I am very cheap, and I, have kids that, cost a lot of money. And so I work out in my backyard. I buy my fitness equipment on Facebook Marketplace, and I do a lot of body weight support stuff and run, because I can run from anywhere. So for me, it's like, I know what that feels like because I have in the past belonged to gyms that were expensive, and I just found that, it was stressing me out a little bit. And so I just removed that barrier, because I was like, I don't want to feel that stress. I don't need to feel it. But that goes into our next barrier of motivation. So if I lack intrinsic motivation for a bunch of different reasons, like an example is myself waking up this morning. Uh, if I didn't have an accountability partner that I knew was going to meet me for my run, no way, no way. Woke up, my neck was hurting, had a horrible stress related headache. That's me. That was just kind of, some tension I was holding that I didn't get rid of the night before. Did I beat myself up for that? No, because what's the point of that? Now I'm going to start feeling even more behind. I know today, you know what? I need to practice some more mindfulness. And I still got up and actually felt a lot better after my run. It wasn't resolved, but better than it was. And so when we talk about motivation, we've got to put things into our schedule, into our lives that helps because nobody is perfectly intrinsically motivated to make the hard choices that are going to be what longevity is. So, John, like I use an accountability partner for running. Like, what are some of your things that you do to help with that?
That's kind of where I struggle a lot. Um, you know, I'm a single dad, so I kind of use my daughter a lot as motivation. Because there's no failing. Like I can't fail, you know? I have to push forward.
Mhm.
Um, there are a lot of barriers that I face that I have to kick down. Like there is nothing that is allowed to stop me. Um, and so I use that as my motivation to move forward.
Yeah.
So kind of going back, to the money thing. I was talking to a patient this morning who was telling me about, the crazy grocery prices now. Where, chuck roast, he was telling me at Publix, chuck roast is 12 times the price per pound than it was in 1970 today.
That's just outrageous. It's $40 for a 3-pound chuck roast. And, I was telling him, as a single dad, I shop at 3 or 4 different grocery stores every 2 weeks for my groceries during the week because every grocery store has a different, price line for different groupings of items. And so I take my barrier of I have this set amount of money that I'm allowed to spend every few weeks on groceries that I have allotted in my budget. And so I have to go and split that up between different places. And so, that's how I get through that because different places, charge different things. So, you just kind of have to roll with the punches sometimes.
Right.
And so, you just got to keep pushing.
Right. You can't let it stop you,
No.
is the real answer. I mean,
No.
we shop easily at 3 places.
Yeah.
Uh, same thing.
Yeah.
I cannot justify spending that much more on groceries when I don't have to.
Yeah.
And
And guess
so,
what?
yeah,
Listen, as much as I hate going into 3 or 4 different grocery stores, guess what? I get my steps in because I'm walking through 3 or 4 different grocery stores.
I
I'm getting my workout in because I'm picking all the stuff up. I'm walking through the store. I'm out for hours on end and going into multiple different stores. So, it's not like I'm aimlessly wasting my time. I'm using it just in a different way.
absolutely. And then you just
So,
stock up, right?
yeah,
So, and that's what I think depending on the week, we'll go in and especially when there's sales and stuff that you can put in the freezer, like we will definitely stock up on like our must haves. And so that right there, that store I might not have to go to for another month
right,
because I only get certain things at that store. And so, I've got my regular stop on, at the end of the week, my regular stop where I know I can get the best prices on certain things that we really like
right,
that are organic and healthy and quality. And then you've got the stuff that you're just gonna have to pay a little bit more because it's what works for you.
right.
But that's just like a few certain items. And so, from there, then you can kind of be like, okay, that's gonna be, my splurge. Like for example, like I stopped making kombucha and I buy kombucha. Time is the barrier to that
Right.
because we do meal prep and we do meal prep our breakfast, our lunch, and our dinners. And
Right.
so because of that, one thing had to give. So I was like, okay, if I can pull one thing off and it's not taking so long making the kombucha, not that it takes a while, but it does take more time.
Right.
Uh, but like the meal prepping saves so much money, so much money. You just kind of need to be willing to eat the same thing, not necessarily every single day, all day, but like
I mean, you
multiple
do.
meals. But I'm not a foodie. I literally don't care.
Yeah, you
Um,
do the same thing
right. No,
every
like
single day.
I don't care.
I think.
them through your whole life.
I know what ingredients I need to get in my body and I get it in over the course of the day. And I don't take that much time to actually eat lunch. And so I just shovel it in and keep going. Other people are more foodies and they really do appreciate food more than I do. And so I get that. that's hard and that's a barrier for me. I'm like, I don't want to take that long to eat. So
Yeah, and I yeah, no, you're right. You don't have enough time to eat. Um, sorry, my bad. So I think that kind of brings us into kind of another barrier that I see, I feel, I kind of experience sometimes. So the issue of processed food versus natural whole food, organic. So, I'm sure food, organic food is much, much healthier for you. Processed food is so much easier and so much cheaper most of the time to just grab off the shelf and eat or, throw in the microwave, heat up versus something natural and organic or whole that you have to do so much more to and sometimes spend, more money on to kind of get the same effect out of.
and it's that payment into yourself. That is why you spend the time. It doesn't have to be a ton of time, depending on what you choose to eat. So I make a lot of soups, for example. And so I make my own veggie broth because that is actually super easy. I save all my veggie scraps as I am, making salads or whatever it is. And I put the scraps into a Ziploc bag and keep it in the freezer. Then on Saturday morning, I'll just take a bag, put it into a big stock pot with water, and just let it simmer all day. And so it just kind of cooks out all of the nutrients from the veggie scraps that you would just either compost or throw away. And so right there, now I don't have to pay for stock and then stock that has preservatives and stuff in it that I really don't want to eat. And then from there, soups can make really big batches, and it does take a little bit of time because I'm kind of into broth. I want the broth to taste good. So there's like a little bit of effort that goes into that. But the amount of time that it takes me to make a soup that I always have a double batch. I have enough for dinners for the week and for another week. To me is like when I think of ROI. So like ROI is like the amount of return you're going to get on something. So my mind always works in ROI. So if I spend money, right, if I'm going to, especially with the business, I want to return on that. So if I increase my budget in some way, it needs to increase revenue. And so when I think of time, time is money. It really is. So if I'm going to be spending time, so that's my investment. What I get out of that needs to make sense. And so for me, it makes sense to spend time making that soup on the weekend because it's going to feed us dinners for a whole week and another week. Probably not the next week right after, but a week where we're out of town or busy on the weekend, things like that. Like we were out of town this last weekend, I could just pull stuff out of the freezer so I don't have to meal prep for that week. So things like that. So if we think about like ROI, what's my return on this investment? Then it kind of helps you say, is this worth it for me to spend the money, the time, the energy, whatever it might be? And when it comes to your health, like it really typically is worth the investment as long as you're not putting all of this time into one meal. Because then it's over. Like 15 minutes, it's over. It's like 2 hours to prepare it. So it's like, I'm literally never going to do that. Like, I don't have 2 hours to spend on one meal for 15 minutes. Sorry. Like, if you come to my house, it's potluck. Someone bring something because I'm not feeding everybody. Like, I got a house to take care of, a business, like a family to take care of. I can't take care of all these strangers coming to my home.
I feel like if you were to bring everybody to your house and you were going to feed everybody, we'd all have cottage cheese.
100%.
Like, oof.
There you go.
Oh, no.
I know. But again, that's like I have to think of my time in that way because if I don't, then I'll end up not having room for my family, for my kids, or for myself. And so it's like it's really calculated when I think about that. And it's the same thing with money. So if I'm going to spend money on, let's say, running shoes. So for me, that's an investment in my health. I really don't care. Like we've got two small kids. Like I'm not going out and looking pretty with like cute shoes and crap like that. Like I'm not in that phase of life. Like if I'm spending money, it's gonna be on running shoes. Like the other shoes, like that's gonna be like whatever I can get, like BOGO. However, I do have a good pair of running shoes that I do every 6 months. Now, I do wait until they're on sale and then I buy two at a time. So I can save $40 per pair. That's $80. So that all still is going to be part of like my ROI is I do invest in things that I know are going to improve my health. And having a pair of running shoes that maybe they don't fit my foot well, or they give me blisters, or I get a tendonitis or something because they're not the right shoe for me, and then I end up not running. That really doesn't make sense because running is one of the number one things for me that's going to prolong my life. Keeps my heart strong, lungs strong, my brain strong, and keeps metabolism healthy and is a great stress outlet for me. So it checks so many boxes for me and I enjoy it. So that's another, something I look forward to. And so for me, it is what it is. Other people, it's not running and that's okay. And it's not running shoes and that's not your thing. And that's fine. It doesn't need to be. It needs to be what you enjoy and what makes sense for your life and what's your ROI on whatever this decision is. And the only way that you can figure that out is running through it yourself with whatever the barrier is. Identify the barrier. So, what in the world is stopping me from doing this? Is it mindset? Is it perfectionism? Is it a potential barrier of time where you just need to step back and make a plan? Is it motivation? Like, what is that? Because that is the real answer to so much of what we talk about is identifying. From there, making an honest plan. And when the first attempt isn't a slam dunk, that's okay. It really is okay. It's about learning how to feel the failure, which not even a failure, but like feeling that like it didn't work and then learning what's your weakness? Why didn't it work? That's the actual learning process. And I think that's where we all see our weaknesses as like something that we want to avoid because it's hard to look at our weaknesses. And the minute that we can look at our weakness and see it as like, I'm just human. Everybody has weaknesses. It's okay. It doesn't make me less. It just means I need to work on it. That's all it means. But it doesn't make me less than somebody else. And that's, I think, where self acceptance comes in. And so much of there is obviously the self acceptance. And it's something we all struggle on. Nobody's perfect at this. So just when it comes to like one, making the plan for your barrier. So you looked at it, okay, I see it. And now I'm going to make my plan. What are ways that you kind of implement that plan? Like, are there ways that you hold yourself accountable? Do you write it down? Do you tell somebody? What's the strategy that you found works for you?
So I found an accountability partner that every night when I get home, I walk with. So every night when I get home, no matter what time it is, no matter what's going on, whether it's raining, not raining, whatever, when I get home, we leave, we walk, whether it's, a lap around the apartment complex, whether it's, a longer lap around the neighborhood, whatever. Like I really try to, we hold each other accountable and, make sure that, we both kind of stay on track.
Yeah, I love that. And I think having a human that you can have as an accountability partner is so awesome. Because like you will not let that person down like you will let yourself down. I mean, really, like
Yep.
I won't, now I know not everybody can find a human in person that has the same goals and the same like matches them as well as like John has found and I have found. And it can be somebody remote. Like you can call somebody on the phone. Like there's, I've got one of my good friends that we work out remotely together. So we both get onto Zoom and like we say we're going to meet at this time. We get on Zoom and we do our strength training together. So we can run together sometimes. Like if my running partner's not available, like we'll kind of run together via, on the phone, which is helpful too. But we can do our video call together and do our strength training, which is great. And so that kind of opens up the people that you can use because remote is now possible with video calls. So like, what are other strategies that you've used for accountability that either haven't worked or have worked?
Sometimes it is just writing it down too and just, putting it in the calendar and making a note of it and just having a reminder at 5 o'clock that says, don't forget you're walking today or, don't forget to do this or don't forget to go to the gym or setting an alarm, an hour before work that says, don't forget to do this. Uh, it's just the reminder to say, you probably forgot. And even if you didn't, here's a reminder.
Yep. That's my strategy is like my phone kind of reminds me of everything. Like anytime somebody's like, "What, like, when are you available?" I'm like, "Hold on. I don't know." And I put reminders on everything. And as I schedule it, I know when I'm gonna need a reminder, like, I know when I'm gonna forget, and I know when the reminder is I'm gonna be able to see it because I'm not, like, in the middle of something. And so when I get the reminder, I chuckle to myself because I'm like, "Yeah, I didn't do that right now. You're right." Because I'm like, I'm sitting there typing my notes at the end of the day, and I'll get the reminder, I'm like, "Yeah, previous self, that was good." And the chuckle to yourself is like, "Yeah, I needed that accountability. Like, I needed it." Because it's the end of the day. You're tired. Like, could you skip out? Could. But then it's like you're less likely to do it because, like, you took the time to set the reminder.
Right.
Yeah. Something else that helps me as far as, like, accountability is planning in advance. Like, I took time to do something. So when I run in the mornings, I set out my running clothes and I fill up my vest that I run with water, and I put all of that out and it's ready to go. And so if, for example, my running partner is not available that morning, I'll lay there as my alarm goes off and I'm like, I did already take my clothes out. I took that time last night to fill up the water. All right, just get up. I mean, just that, like, I don't want to have wasted my time
Right.
doing that. 'Cause, like, time is my thing. Like, if I feel like something wasted my time, I get very irritated. And so, like, I don't even wanna feel like I wasted my own time. So that works for me. It's like making things accessible and easy. Like, all you have to do is change and get out the door. Like, nothing else needs to happen. It's already set in place. And so I've removed the barrier of even having to think about what clothes am I gonna wear or filling up my water, which isn't, like, a big deal, but, like, when you're tired and it's super dark outside, you're like, do I really feel like finding my shorts and, everything else?
Right.
No, you don't. So,
Right.
no.
And then sometimes I feel like, sometimes you you go unprepared if you do that, if you don't set your stuff out. Maybe there was a morning where you're rushing because you're motivated to do it, but you didn't set your stuff out. Maybe you don't take your water with you, or maybe you wear the wrong shorts and then
Mm,
something happens and
done.
you're dehydrated,
That
or,
too.
your legs are chafed or something.
Mhm.
And then you kind of reap the consequences later because you didn't plan ahead.
Right. And you know the shorts that you shouldn't wear. They irritate you every time.
Oh, yeah.
So, 100%. Those are yard work shorts, not running shorts.
Listen, I've worked out in the gym before in jeans, so I'm well aware.
Yep. Yep, yep.
Because I was going to the gym one way or another. I did not plan ahead.
Right.
Never did it again though.
Absolutely. So I think the moral of the story is that when we're talking about barriers, this is one of the number one things that can get in people's way for living that longer health span. So having quality years, it's not just about knowing the right information, the perfect diet, the perfect exercise, the perfect everything. It's about actually implementing it and not beating yourself up when you're not perfect and not beating yourself up because you feel like you can't afford to do it in the perfect way of like this perfect gym with this perfect class with this perfect, organic diet from the health food store where the groceries are going to cost twice as much and feeling like this is out of control and not possible. The
Mhm.
reality is that you really can make good choices that are going to be a whole foods diet where you can move your body consistently 30 minutes a day between cardio and strength-based training, where you can find a way to get enough sleep because you're putting steps in place for time management and then really making sure that you're finding ways to recover that work for you so that you're not just running yourself ragged and getting to the point where you're recovering from day to day. So each step along the way, there's going to be things that get in the way. Every phase of life is going to look different. What worked for you last year isn't necessarily going to work for you this year. And that's the thing is it's really all about the journey of trying to constantly figure out what works for me today. And it's okay if it's not yesterday. And if it's okay if that's not tomorrow, but meeting yourself where you are and showing yourself grace and realizing that it truly is a little bit of something is better than a whole lot of nothing. And that acceptance will calm down stress. It will help you actually feel like, wait a minute, I am enough. I'm doing it. Like, I'm doing better than I did a month ago. And a month from now, I'll probably be doing better than I am now. And that is progress. That's all we can ask for, really. So, so stay tuned for more episodes like this. If you feel like this was helpful, share it with somebody that might need to hear a bit about barriers and that really being able to identify what they are. What are some of the common examples for ways that you can overcome barriers? And knowing how to implement strategies is going to be a bit of a roller coaster. And that's the reality. It's not this perfect science for anybody. And that's okay because that's what makes life interesting. All right, stay tuned for next week.